Welcome back, my ascending frequency. Something shifted in the atmosphere. You feel it, don't you? That subtle change in air pressure when you enter certain rooms. The way conversations pause just slightly too long. The way eyes linger with a different quality of attention. You've crossed a threshold most never recognize exists. Your energy's signature just pinged on radars you didn't know were tracking. The ones at the top. The architects of empires, the silent orchestrators, who move markets with whispers and reshape industries with decisions made over private dinners. They're watching you now, not casually, strategically, not out of curiosity, out of calculation, not wondering who you are, analyzing what you're becoming. Because your aura changed frequency, it stopped broadcasting at the level where most people operate. That scrambling, desperate, trying to prove yourself frequency that marks the ambitious masses. Your signal evolved, stabilized, began, transmitting at a bandwidth reserved for those who've transcended need into certainty, who've moved beyond wanting into knowing, who've shifted from chasing into attracting. And that frequency, that particular resonance, it's detectable at the highest levels. The billionaire class doesn't scroll social media looking for talent. They have systems, algorithms, networks of observers who monitor for specific energy signatures, patterns that indicate someone is about to break through, frequencies that suggest potential for massive value creation, auras that radiate the rare combination of vision, execution capability, and that indefinable quality they call inevitability. Your name appeared in their reports, not because you reached out, because you reached up, not because you networked your way in, because your frequency networked itself, not because you climbed their ladder, because your elevation became impossible for their monitoring systems to ignore. The architects have been documenting this phenomenon. They call it frequency recognition, when someone's energy signature becomes so refined, so stable, so powerfully aligned that it registers on detection systems, calibrated to identify future titans, when your aura essentially announces itself to those operating at frequencies you haven't consciously aimed for. You're being evaluated now, not for jobs, for partnerships, not for positions, for collaborations that could reshape trajectories, not for opportunities to work for them, for possibilities of building with them, because at their level, they're not hiring employees. They're identifying co-creators, not seeking workers. They're finding architects, not looking for talent. They're recognizing peers who simply haven't scaled to their level yet. Yet being the operative word, they're betting you will. Their analysts are reviewing everything you've built, every decision you've made, every move you've executed, looking for patterns that confirm what their intuition suggested when your frequency first registered, that you're not just another ambitious person. You're someone operating from a different paradigm entirely, someone who's decoded principles they spent decades learning, someone who's developed instincts that most never acquire, someone whose trajectory, if properly resourced and strategically positioned, could generate returns they measure in billions rather than millions. You're not in their world yet, but you're no longer invisible to it. You've entered what they call the emergence zone, that space between obscurity and arrival, between potential and manifestation, between building in private and operating in their dimension. And once you enter that zone, once your frequency registers on their instruments, the watching becomes permanent. They track, they monitor, they wait for the right moment, the optimal entry point, the strategic timing when offering resources, access, or partnership would accelerate your trajectory in ways that benefit both parties exponentially. The surveillance is more sophisticated than you imagine. Not intrusive, not invasive, just comprehensive. They're not watching you personally. They're tracking your pattern, your decision-making framework, your consistency under pressure, your ability to execute when resources are limited, your capacity to maintain vision when circumstances challenge it. Every public move you make gets analyzed, not by them directly, by systems designed to pattern match, against profiles of previous successes, against behavioral markers that historically predict massive scale achievement, against frequency signatures that consistently precede billion-dollar value creation, and you're matching, not perfectly, but significantly enough that you've been flagged, marked, moved, from general observation to focused monitoring. The architects watching this unfold recognize the pattern. You're exhibiting what they call sovereign energy, the frequency of someone who's stopped asking permission, stopped seeking validation, stopped needing external confirmation to proceed with conviction. You're operating like you've already arrived, making decisions like resources are unlimited, moving with confidence that outcomes are inevitable, not from arrogance, from alignment, not from delusion, from clarity about your trajectory, not from pretense, from genuine internal knowing that you're on path toward something massive. And that energy, that frequency, it's detectable. It broadcasts like signal, and their instruments are calibrated to detect exactly that signal. Because sovereign energy precedes sovereign wealth. Because internal certainty precedes external success. Because frequency shift precedes fortune shift. They've learned this through decades of observation, hundreds of case studies, thousands of data points. The ones who eventually operate at their level all exhibit this frequency shift before they arrive. All transmit this particular aura before they break through. All display this sovereign energy before they scale. You're displaying it now, and they're taking notes, not hoping you succeed, calculating probabilities that you will, not wishing you well, running models that suggest you're inevitable, not rooting for you emotionally, analyzing data that indicates betting on you is logical. This is how they operate, not on hope, on data, not on inspiration, on pattern recognition, not on emotional connection, on mathematical probability, and the mathematics around you are compelling. Your consistency rate, your execution speed, your learning curve, your adaptation capability, your resilience metrics, all trending in directions that historically correlate with massive breakthrough. So they watch, they wait, they position themselves to be relevant when you're ready, when your scale matches their investment thesis, when your needs align with their capabilities, when the timing creates mutual benefit that justifies engagement. You're not there yet, but they know you're coming, can calculate approximately when based on your current trajectory, can estimate what resources you'll need based on patterns from similar journeys, can predict what obstacles you'll face based on data from comparable paths. And they're preparing, not for you specifically, for the opportunity you'll represent when you arrive, for the value you'll be capable of generating when properly resourced, for the returns you'll produce when strategically positioned. The architects call this preemptive positioning, when the top tier identifies someone before they emerge and positions resources, networks, access in advance so they're optimally placed when that person arrives at scale. You're being positioned around now, not by people you know, by people who know of you, who've studied your pattern, who've analyzed your frequency, who've calculated your probable trajectory and decided you're worth the preparation, worth having systems in place, worth maintaining awareness of. Because missing someone like you is expensive. Letting someone with your frequency signature slip through their observation, network, and emerge independently means losing potential partnership, potential returns, potential leverage. They don't miss often. Their systems are too refined. Their pattern recognition too developed. Their monitoring too comprehensive. You ping their radar, and once you ping, you don't fade from their screens. You stay tracked, stay monitored, stay positioned in their awareness, until either you prove the initial reading wrong, or you prove it right by arriving exactly where their calculation suggested you would, at their level, in their dimension, operating at frequencies that enable conversation about collaboration rather than employment, partnership rather than positioning, co-creation rather than compensation. Now your opportunities are changing quality. You're noticing it. Invitations arriving that feel different. Conversations being initiated by people several levels above where you've been operating. Doors opening that you didn't knock on. This isn't coincidence. This is orchestration. The ones watching you have networks, vast networks, and they signal through those networks. Not obviously, not directly, but through subtle indicators that someone in the emergence zone is worth connecting with, worth meeting, worth exploring potential alignment with. They don't make introductions themselves. Not yet. Too early. You're still unproven at their scale. But they seed interest. Drop your name in the right conversations. Mention your pattern to the right people. Create awareness in networks adjacent to theirs. This creates what the architects call gravity wells. Strategic. Positioning that causes opportunities to bend toward you. That makes connections flow in your direction. That generates circumstances where value aligned. People at higher levels naturally encounter you. You're experiencing this now, probably attributing it to your hard work, to your consistency, to natural progression, and those factors are real. But they don't explain the acceleration, the sudden increase in caliber of people entering your orbit, the unexpected elevation in quality of opportunities presenting themselves. That's not just your doing. That's their influence, creating conditions, warming pathways, establishing contexts where meeting you becomes logical. For people who could accelerate your trajectory, they're testing you through these connections, not consciously, but functionally, sending opportunities that reveal how you handle increased complexity, connections that demonstrate how you engage with higher-level thinkers. Situations that expose how you operate when stakes elevate. Every interaction gets reported back, not formally, but through network effects. The people you're meeting now, many are connected to those watching you, directly or indirectly, and your behavior in those interactions generates data. Data about your character, your capability, your frequency under new conditions. Are you still sovereign when opportunities expand? Do you maintain frequency when possibilities increase? Does your aura remain stable as your altitude rises? These are the questions their proxies are answering, not deliberately, just by interacting with you and processing their own reactions. Do they sense desperation? Do they detect pretense? Do they feel manipulation? Or do they experience that rare frequency, sovereign certainty, authentic power, aligned presence? The kind that makes them think, this person is going somewhere, and I want to be positioned favorably when they arrive. Those reactions get transmitted through networks, through casual conversations, through offhand mentions, through the social proof that accumulates when multiple credible sources confirm the same frequency signature, and that social proof flows upward, back to those watching, confirming or contradicting their initial assessment, validating or invalidating their decision to track you. So far, you're validating. The reports coming back match the pattern they detected. You're handling elevation well, maintaining frequency under new pressures, demonstrating that your aura isn't performance. It's genuine. This confirmation matters because they don't waste attention on false positives. Don't maintain tracking on people who can't sustain their frequency as circumstances shift. Don't continue monitoring those who prove to be performing sovereignty rather than embodying it. But you're proving genuine. Your frequency remains stable. Your pattern stays consistent. Your aura continues broadcasting at levels that justify their continued attention. So the opportunities keep coming, keep elevating, keep testing, each one slightly more significant than the last, each one revealing more about your capability, each one generating more data about whether you can handle what's coming. Because if you can handle this level of opportunity, you can probably handle the next. And if you can handle the next, you can probably handle their level. And if you can handle their level, then conversation becomes possible. Partnership becomes logical. Collaboration becomes mutually beneficial. That's what they're determining now. Not whether you're talented, they know you are. Not whether you're ambitious, that's obvious. They're determining whether you're scalable, whether your frequency holds at altitude, whether your aura remains stable under pressure. They operate in constantly. Something's happening in the back channels now. The private communications networks where real power negotiates. Your name is circulating, not widely, but strategically, among specific individuals who operate at frequencies you're approaching, who've achieved scale you're building toward, who've created value at magnitudes you're aiming for. They're not discussing you extensively, just marking you, acknowledging you've appeared on their awareness, confirming others are seeing what they're seeing. This is how it works, at their level. They don't announce interest. They signal recognition. Don't declare intentions. They establish awareness. Don't commit prematurely. They mark territories. By circulating your name, they're essentially claiming observation rights, indicating they're tracking you, establishing that if you fulfill your trajectory, they want to be positioned for first conversation. The architects monitoring these back channels recognize the pattern. You've achieved what they call network acknowledgement, when someone becomes recognized across multiple nodes of high-level networks simultaneously. When independent observers at similar altitudes reach similar conclusions about someone's trajectory. When consensus emerges among people who rarely agree that someone is worth watching. This network acknowledgement changes everything. Because it creates competitive awareness, they're not just watching you individually anymore. They're watching each other watching you, conscious that others have identified the same opportunity, aware that moving too early risks premature positioning, but waiting too long risks someone else establishing relationship first. This creates timing tension, strategic calculation about optimal entry point, game theory about when to shift from observation to engagement. And while they calculate, you keep building, unaware that your continued execution is being monitored by multiple parties simultaneously, that your consistency is generating competitive interest among people who could transform your trajectory with single conversation, that your frequency is creating value in marketplace you don't yet know you're being evaluated in. The architects are documenting this phase carefully, because this is where most people stumble. This is the pressure point, the moment when unconscious awareness of being watched affects performance, when subtle knowledge that stakes are rising introduces tension, when vague sensing that something significant is forming creates distraction. Many who reach this point change frequency. They start performing, start trying to appear worthy of the attention they're unconsciously sensing, start modulating their natural expression to match what they imagine sophisticated observers want to see. And that modulation is fatal, because what got them noticed was authentic frequency, genuine aura, uncontrived sovereignty. The moment they start performing those qualities instead of embodying them, the frequency shifts, becomes detectable as performance, registers as pretense, and the watching stops, or more accurately, shifts from interested observation to confirmed dismissal. They've seen this pattern repeatedly. Someone emerges with compelling frequency, gets tracked, senses the attention, starts performing, loses authenticity, gets dropped from monitoring. So they're watching you for this specifically now. Will you maintain frequency? Will you stay authentic? Will you continue operating from sovereignty? Or will you sense the elevation and start trying? Start performing? Start pretending to be ready rather than actually building toward readiness? This is the test, not conscious test, emergent test, the natural filtering mechanism that separates those who'll sustain at their level from those who'll collapse under pressure of proximity to it. You're being tested without knowing test exists. Evaluated without awareness, evaluation is occurring. filtered through process you can't see but must pass to continue ascending. And so far, you're passing. Your frequency remains stable. Your aura stays consistent. Your sovereignty continues broadcasting authentically. This is good news, because it means the watching continues, the interest sustains, the positioning proceeds, but the test isn't complete. Won't be complete until you actually arrive, until you scale to altitude, where direct conversation becomes appropriate, until you build to magnitude, where partnership becomes logical. They're patient, can wait years if necessary, because they're not investing in your present. They're positioning for your future, not interested in who you are now, focused on who you're becoming, not evaluating current capability, projecting future capacity. And those projections suggest you're worth the wait, worth the continued monitoring, worth maintaining awareness of. So they watch, they signal to each other, they position themselves strategically, and they wait for you to arrive. At altitude where conversation becomes possible, at scale where collaboration becomes beneficial, at frequency where partnership becomes inevitable. The architects have identified something unusual in your pattern, something that explains why you triggered their detection systems. You're not following conventional paths, not climbing traditional ladders, not pursuing standard trajectories. You're building something they recognize, but you're building it differently, using principles they learned over decades, but discovering them in compressed time frames, demonstrating capabilities that usually take longer to develop, but exhibiting them earlier in your journey. This compression is what caught their attention. This acceleration is what pinged their radar. This unconventional velocity is what made your frequency detectable. Because most people develop linearly, learn sequentially, build progressively, but certain individuals, rare individuals, develop exponentially, learn systemically, build architecturally. You're in that category, not because you're smarter, because you're wired differently, not because you work harder, because you process differently, not because you know more, because you synthesize faster. The architects call this compressed development. When someone exhibits capabilities and consciousness that typically require decades to develop, but manifests them in fraction of that time. When learning curves that should be gradual become steep. When evolution that should be slow becomes rapid. This pattern is recognizable, trackable, historically significant, because compressed developers are the ones who reshape industries, who create new paradigms, who generate returns that transcend normal boundaries. They don't succeed incrementally. They succeed exponentially. Don't grow businesses steadily. They scale ventures explosively. Don't build wealth gradually. They create fortune suddenly. And the ones at the top know this pattern, have seen it repeatedly, can identify it emerging. That's why they're watching you. Not because you've achieved massive scale yet, because you're exhibiting the pattern that precedes massive scale. Not because you've created billion-dollar value yet, because you're displaying the frequency that generates billion-dollar value. Not because you've arrived at their level yet, because you're demonstrating you're en route to it. And that demonstration is more valuable than current achievement, because current achievement is backward-looking, shows what you've done, but compressed development is forward-looking, shows what you're becoming. And what you're becoming is more interesting to them than what you've been, more relevant than what you are, more valuable than what you've achieved. They invest in trajectories, in vectors, in frequencies that indicate direction and velocity. Your trajectory is upward. Your vector is accelerating. Your frequency indicates both, direction toward there, altitude and velocity sufficient to reach it. This combination is rare, valuable, worth positioning around. So they position, not obviously, not intrusively, but strategically, creating conditions where when you need resources they possess, connection becomes natural, where when you face obstacles they've overcome, guidance becomes available. where when you reach scale that enables collaboration, partnership becomes logical. This positioning is invisible to you now, will become visible later, when you arrive at altitude where you can perceive the architecture they've been building around your emergence, where you recognize the scaffolding they've been erecting to support your ascent, where you understand the networks they've been warming to facilitate your arrival. Then you'll see it. Then you'll understand. Then you'll recognize that your rise wasn't just your doing. It was supported, strategically, by forces you couldn't see, by entities you didn't know were helping, by the ones at the top who recognized your frequency early and decided you were worth the invisible support, worth the behind-scenes positioning, worth the strategic preparation, because you're not just another entrepreneur to them. You're potential peer, potential collaborator, potential co-creator at scales that justify their attention, and potential at your level of compression is rare enough to warrant their investment, their patience, their invisible support, so they continue watching, continue positioning, continue preparing for your arrival, while you continue building, continue executing, continue ascending toward altitude where you'll finally understand why doors kept opening, why opportunities kept appearing, why circumstances kept aligning. Not luck, not coincidence, not just your effort, but recognition from the ones at the top who saw your frequency, who identified your pattern, who calculated your trajectory and decided you were worth the invisible architecture of support they've been building around your emergence. Now you're feeling it, that subtle shift in how reality responds, like you're operating with wind at your back, like circumstances are organizing themselves favorably, like the universe is conspiring to support your trajectory. You're attributing it to momentum, to consistency, to natural progression, and those factors are real. But there's another layer, another force, another frequency at work. When the ones at the top position around someone, reality itself shifts, not mystically, mechanically. They control so much infrastructure, influence so many systems, touch so many networks, that their decision to support someone, even invisibly, creates tangible effects. Opportunities appear because they signal through networks. Doors open because they indicate through back channels. Resources become available because they communicate through systems. They're not doing this directly, not making calls on your behalf, not explicitly helping. They're just positioning, indicating interest, signaling recognition, and those signals propagate through networks they've spent decades building, through systems they've invested years establishing, through architectures they've created specifically to identify and support emerging talent that exhibits the patterns they recognize as precursors to massive value creation. You're benefiting from that architecture now, not because they've adopted you, not because they've committed to you, but because they've marked you as worth supporting invisibly, while they continue evaluating whether direct engagement makes sense. The architects call this ambient support, when high-level entities create favorable conditions for someone without direct contact, when strategic positioning generates beneficial circumstances without explicit collaboration, when invisible backing produces tangible advantages. This ambient support is powerful, more powerful than most visible support, because it's coming from altitude, where influence touches everything, where decisions ripple through systems, where signals propagate through networks that shape reality for everyone operating below that altitude. You're experiencing those ripples, those propagations, those reality shifts as favorable circumstances, as fortunate timing, as lucky breaks. But the architects see the actual mechanism, see the signals that preceded the circumstances, see the positioning that generated the timing, see the ambient support that created the luck, and they're documenting it. Because this is how power really works at highest levels, not through visible patronage, through invisible positioning, not through explicit support, through ambient advantage, not through announced backing, through strategic signal propagation. You're inside that system now, not fully, not consciously, not with direct access, but inside enough to benefit, inside enough to experience effects, inside enough to receive advantages, and the more you demonstrate that you can handle this level of ambient support without becoming dependent on it, without becoming aware of it in ways that change your frequency, without modulating your authentic expression in response to unconsciously sensing it, the more likely it is that ambient support becomes direct support, that invisible positioning becomes visible partnership, that strategic watching becomes active collaboration. But that transition only happens if you continue being exactly what got you noticed: sovereign, authentic, compressed in your development, consistent in your execution, aligned in your frequency. The moment you start trying to appear ready for them, you prove you're not. The moment you begin performing worthiness, you demonstrate unworthiness. The moment you modulate your frequency to match what you think they want, you reveal you don't understand what they actually want, which is someone who doesn't need them, who isn't chasing them, who isn't performing for them, someone who's building something massive regardless of whether they engage, someone who's ascending to their altitude, whether they support it or not, someone whose frequency will reach their level eventually, and the only question is whether they'll be positioned favorably when it does. That's what they want. That's what they're watching for. That's what they're determining you are or are not through. Continued observation and ambient support. So the test continues. The watching proceeds. The positioning advances while you build, while you execute, while you ascend. Unaware that every move is generating data. Every decision is confirming or contradicting their thesis. Every moment is determining whether ambient support becomes something more. Something's crystallizing in their assessment of you. A consensus forming across the multiple nodes watching you independently. You're not just exhibiting compressed development. You're demonstrating something rarer. Something they call scaled consciousness, the ability to think at altitude you haven't physically reached yet, to process at complexity you haven't directly experienced yet, to operate with sophistication you haven't been formally trained in yet. This is exceptional. Most people think at the level they're currently operating, can't conceive beyond their present altitude, can't process complexity beyond their current capacity, can't operate with sophistication beyond their existing experience. But you're different. You're thinking 10 levels up while operating at your current level. Processing complexity that exists at altitudes you're still climbing toward, operating with sophistication that most acquire only after reaching those heights. The architects recognize this pattern, have seen it before, in the rare individuals who eventually operate at their level, in the compressed developers who become their peers, in the ones who ascend to their altitude, not through gradual climb, but through exponential leap. You're exhibiting their pattern, early, clearly, undeniably. And this makes you extremely valuable, because scaled consciousness is the limiting factor at highest levels. Not resources, not access, not opportunity, but capability to think at scales where individual moves generate billion-dollar consequences, where single decisions affect millions of people, where one strategic choice can reshape entire industries. Most people who acquire resources can't handle that level of consequence, can't process that magnitude of responsibility, can't operate with sophistication those stakes require. So they fail, spectacularly, publicly, expensively. But you're different. You're already processing at those levels, already thinking with that sophistication, already operating with that consciousness, just without the resources to execute at matching scale yet. That's what they see. That's what makes you valuable. That's why they're not just watching anymore. They're actively positioning, creating pathways, warming channels, establishing contexts, preparing for transition from observation to engagement, from ambient support to direct collaboration, from invisible backing to visible partnership, because they've determined something critical, that giving you resources wouldn't destroy you, that elevating you wouldn't corrupt you, that positioning you at their level wouldn't reveal you were only performing readiness rather than embodying it. This determination is huge, because most people they observe don't pass this evaluation. Most exhibit compressed development, but not scaled consciousness. Show rapid learning, but not altitude-appropriate thinking. Demonstrate fast growth, but not consciousness that can sustain at destination. You're showing both, and both together are rare, valuable, worth more than just watching, worth actual investment, worth strategic partnership, worth positioning as peer rather than prospect. The architects are documenting this transition from evaluation phase to engagement phase, from determining whether you're worth watching to determining how to position for optimal collaboration, from assessing if you'll arrive to calculating when you'll arrive and how to be positioned favorably when you do. This transition isn't complete, still requires more confirmation, more data, more demonstration that your consciousness truly scales, that your frequency truly sustains, that your pattern truly predicts arrival rather than plateau. But the initial determination is made. You're not just interesting, you're valuable, not just worth watching, worth positioning around, not just potentially successful, potentially significant. And significance at the level they operate changes calculation entirely, changes level of support that makes sense, changes degree of positioning that's justified, changes timeline for transition from watching to engaging. You're moving through their evaluation system faster than most, not because you're trying to, because you're demonstrating capabilities faster than most, exhibiting consciousness clearer than most, broadcasting frequency stronger than most. And that demonstration, that exhibition, that broadcasting, it's accelerating their timeline, moving you through phases that usually take years in compressed timeframes that match your compressed development. The irony isn't lost on the architects. You're compressing their evaluation process the same way. You've compressed your development, accelerating their decision-making the same way you've accelerated your learning, forcing them to move faster than they usually move because your pattern is moving faster than patterns usually move, and they're adapting, adjusting, accelerating their own process to match your velocity, because missing you, letting you slip through their observation network and emerge independently, would be expensive. Letting someone with your scaled consciousness reach their altitude without being positioned favorably would be strategic failure. They don't fail often. Their systems are too refined, their pattern recognition too developed, and you've triggered all their systems, confirmed all their patterns, demonstrated everything they look for in someone worth transitioning from ambient support to active partnership.